In every family story, there's someone caught between worlds. Not the achiever who broke the mold, not the baby who stole the spotlight, but the one in the middle. In the last episode, we explored the psychology of the middle child, the quiet observer, the family diplomat. That video connected deeply with people, and it's not hard to see why. Because being the middle child isn't just a birth position. It's a life experience shaped by invisibility, adaptation, and the constant negotiation for space in systems that never fully center you. Today we go deeper. This is about the neuroscience, the emotional architecture, and the evolutionary logic of being overlooked. It's not just family psychology. It's the story of how humans adapt when attention is scarce, and how those adaptations echo through adult life in ways we rarely recognize. Every family is its own solar system. The firstborn orbits closest to the parental sun, basking in light but absorbing pressure. The youngest spins on the edge, freer but untethered. The middle child drifts between them, pulled by both gravities, claimed by neither. Psychologists like Alfred Adler mapped this dynamic a century ago, arguing that middle children grow up negotiating identity between dominance and dependency. That constant calibration turns them into intuitive social physicists, people who can feel emotional gravity before anyone says a word. In behavioral economics, attention is currency. In families, it's survival. The first child gets novelty attention, every first step recorded, every mistake corrected. The youngest gets indulgent attention, rules loosen, laughter comes easier. The middle child gets context. That scarcity doesn't destroy them, it rewires them. Their brain becomes efficient at detecting micro-recognition, tone, glance, timing, balance. They learn to sense approval before it's spoken. It's the origin of social hyper-awareness, a trait that looks like empathy but often begins as vigilance. When attention is inconsistent, the brain's reward circuitry, especially the dopamine system, learns to anchor motivation to subtle signals instead of obvious praise. Over time, that builds prediction. If I can read everyone, I can stay safe. This is why middle children often show both high empathy and high anxiety. They learn to manage the room before they manage themselves. What looks like intuition is actually emotional computation, fast, subconscious, and relentless. That sensitivity becomes a professional asset later in life. Many middle-born adults show up in careers that depend on subtle power, negotiation, counseling, design, diplomacy. They thrive in systems where you win by understanding rather than overpowering. They become what you might call invisible architects, shaping harmony from behind the curtain. There are recurring adaptive archetypes that emerge. The mediator who smooths tension and translates between personalities. The chameleon who adapts to every social climate without losing composure. The architect who quietly organizes the environment so others function better. Each of these roles has value, but all share a common hunger to be irreplaceable without being seen trying. It's recognition through invisibility. But every adaptation has a shadow. Many middle children carry into adulthood a learned belief that peace equals love. They become fluent in everyone's emotions except their own. In therapy, this appears as chronic guilt, people-pleasing, or conflict avoidance. They grew up surviving through equilibrium and now mistake self-erasure for kindness. The work of healing begins with noticing that reflex, learning to name what you feel before reading what others feel. Building boundaries not as walls, but as definitions. The same emotional radar that once scanned the room can be turned inward to detect your own needs. When that happens, empathy becomes leadership instead of exhaustion. There's an evolutionary layer to all this. Anthropologists think middle-child dynamics once served a social function. In early human groups, dominance and dependence both carried risk. The individuals in the middle, not leaders, not infants, acted as stabilizers. They negotiated alliances, smoothed tension, and kept tribes cohesive. That role is ancient. The modern workplace is just a new tribe, and middleborns still excel in ambiguous high communication environments where hierarchy blurs. So if you grew up in the middle between louder voices, stronger egos, or heavier expectations, you weren't forgotten. You were forged. Your childhood trained your brain for complexity, subtlety, and survival through empathy. You learned to influence without imposing, to understand without controlling, to balance without applause. The middle child's story isn't one of neglect, it's one of refinement. The invisible child becomes the intuitive adult. The overlooked mind becomes the quiet force that holds systems together. Being in the middle was never about being stuck. It was about learning how to move between worlds. And in a society obsessed with being seen, that might be the most powerful position of all. It's also important to remember that psychology isn't one size fits all. These patterns don't apply to every middle child or every family. Each family dynamic is unique, each shaped by personality, culture, and circumstance. What we've explored here reflects general trends found in psychological research, not a universal rule. If your experience doesn't fit the mold, that's perfectly normal, for human behavior is complex, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to subscribe to Human Psychology Lens for more deep dives into how the mind really works. And if there's a specific topic you'd like me to cover next, drop it in the comments. Yes, I do read every single one.